between Taiwan and China. So that is not good for us. First, why I say that is not good? According to Ricardo, who invented the principle of comparative advantages, he said England was good for textile producers because England has early industrial revolutions. So if England focus on producing textile, and Portugal, because Portugal has a good weather and natural environments. So if Portugal focus on producing grape and producing wine, then we can have an international trade, use wine to exchange for textile. Then that is good for human being. But there is a precondition for this theory. That is, England cannot transform their industrial technologies to make weapons and attack Portugal. If England can use this technology to make weapons to attack Portugal, what will happen? That is, because Portuguese, they produce too much wine, and they drink much wine all day, and sleeping in the graveyard, and if England attack Portugal, there is no weapon for them, only grape. But you cannot kill your enemy by throwing grape, right? So you can see free trade has a precondition. That is, the country must respect each other's living right and to peaceful existence with them. But now China used 1,500 missiles targeting Taiwan. How can we have a free trade with China? So that is not good. And why I say ECFA has to substantially cover 95%. That is the rule of WTO. And ECFA, this kind of free trade agreement is developing, evolving, and once we sign ECFA, we cannot terminate this ECFA agreement because ECFA is a exceptions to one important principle. In WTO, originally we would like to pursue free trade. So all WTO members have a free trade. That is the purpose, but we cannot achieve that. What we can do now is to lower our custom tariff. Now the WTO trade, the custom tariff is about 6%. And the second requirement for us is we have to treat WTO members fairly. We cannot discriminate against WTO members. So if we treat WTO A members one kind of treatment, we have to grant the same treatment to the other WTO members. So we cannot discriminate against A members and B members. So there is a fair treatment, unless some WTO members establish free trade agreements. Because free trade agreements is the purpose that WTO cannot achieve. So if some members that would like to sign free trade agreements, then that is good, because with WTO, originally we would like to have this free trade. But nowadays we cannot achieve that kind of purpose. So now we just have 6% custom tariff and without discriminating any WTO members. But some of the WTO members, if they would like to sign free trade agreements, that is good. But it must be really FTA agreement. The agreement must be a really FTA agreement. What is really, what is true FTA agreement? It means substantial order trade and services between the members must be free. Substantially, just as that I say, 95%. So what you can see, products, goods, there is 95%. And what you cannot see, services, also 95%, they must be free trade. They must be free traded. Unless it is an interim agreement leading to FTA. ECFA is this kind of interim agreement leading to FTA. But the maximum period WTO allow us to develop this interim agreement is 10 years. So after 10 years, we have to develop to a full-blown FTA agreement with China. And in the beginning, the party can just grant some special treatment to each other. So, for example, China may grant some special treatment to our textile products, to enjoy zero custom tariff treatment in China. But after 10 years, the trade between Taiwan and China must be free. So that is not good for Taiwan, because at the time, after 10 years, the economy of Taiwan will rely on China so heavily. This kind of reliance will give leverage power to China to manipulate the Taiwanese futures. So that is why I object to them. This is the international law legal environment we are facing now. Now we talk about the international political environment. China says Taiwan is a part of China, which is not true. But China says Taiwan is a part of China, so Taiwan cannot join any international organizations, which require statehood. Any international organization like WHO or United Nations or IMF, International Monetary Fund or World Bank, this kind of international organization need to have a statehood as a qualifications. But because China argued that Taiwan is not a country, so Taiwan cannot join this kind of international organizations. And International Free Trade Agreement, FTA, this is not international organization. This is a bilateral trade agreement. But this kind of FTA also need to be signed by states, by countries. And China say Taiwan is not a country. So China object to the idea that United States signed FTA agreement with Taiwan. And Japan also has no guts to sign FTA with Taiwan. So nowadays we just can have FTA with China. So you can see, if we sign ECFA, and after 10 years, the trade with Japan has to pay tariff. The trade with United States has to pay tariff. Only to trade with United States, you don't have to pay tariff. So we will ask for more to China. That is the quite easy thing for you to understand. But actually, Taiwan is not a part of China, because in 1895, China ceded the sovereignty over Taiwan to Japan. And this is a very international treaty. We call it the Treaty of Shimonoseki. The Treaty of Shimonoseki has already effectively made Japan is the ruler of Taiwan. But unfortunately, in 1945, Japan surrendered the sovereignty over Taiwan without designating the sovereignty of Taiwan belonged to which countries. So the sovereignty of Taiwan in 1945 belonged to the people in Taiwan. So that is the people who live in Taiwan have this sovereignty. So what China say, Taiwan belongs to China, that is not true. That is not true. But nowadays, we have not many friends to support Taiwan. So we are facing this kind of international isolation. But this international isolation is done by China. It's done by China. And we have to try every efforts to conquer it. Economy is one way for we to have a good way to escape from that. But the Ma administrations now are cooperating with China to use economical means to unify Taiwan. So that is not good, because now after we know the international legal environment and the international political environment, now we are going to talk about international economic environments. If we sign ECFA with China, and then we will have a free trade agreement with China after 10 years. And according to our governments, there are three main areas in ECFA agreement. The first is goods, trade in goods. The second is trade in services. The third is trade in intellectual property related issues.